start. So this session is about developing live apps inside of Quip. Who here has heard of Quip? All right, that's pretty good. Who here has heard of live apps? Cool. And who here has developed a live app? Okay, so they all work at Quip. And the reason for that is we just launched live apps this morning. And we also just launched the beta developer platform this morning. And what's really exciting about this talk is you'll hear more about Quip and live apps and developing live apps over the course of the rest of Dreamforce. During the keynote today, during Brett Taylor's keynote about Quip on Wednesday, and throughout various other sessions during Dreamforce. But this will be, for many of you, your first look at what a live app is. And also, you'll be some of the first people to see what developing a live app looks like. Because Kevin has been an external partner with us over just the past 2 months developing his own live app for Lucidchart inside of Quip. So I'm Sophia Westwood. I'm a software engineer at Quip. I've been working especially on live apps for mobile. So first, let's take a brief look at what Quip is. Most of you know this, so we'll just go through the slides pretty quickly. This is what a Quip document looks like. It's about bringing your team together in one place. Most of the things happening in this document would, if you weren't using Quip, happen somewhere else. For example, these tasks might happen in some external task tracker. This spreadsheet might be emailed around every single time somebody changed the revenue numbers over email or something else. These notifications maybe would happen via people messaging you on 5 different messaging platforms. And this chat also would happen on those 5 different messaging platforms. But with Quip, all that can happen in one place, and your whole team is literally on the same page. Another example of that is this one-on-one document, where again, you have a whole bunch of things happening here. You have all the chat happening in the same place as the document, as well as your account numbers updating, all these other documents happening, and linking to the context for when you have your one-on-one. It also works seamlessly across mobile, online, and offline. So every day at Quip, for Facebook, EA, Palantir, Fox, other customers using Quip, they use Quip at work, on their laptops. They hop on a train. They use it as the BART connection goes in and out. They jump on an airplane, fly it to a customer, use it from their phone, switch their desktop, and everything just syncs magically behind the scenes. Unlike this clicker. All right. It also works inside of Salesforce. You can link between Quip and Salesforce. You can have Salesforce data inside of Quip. You can have Quip data in Salesforce with this idea of bringing all your collaboration together. All right, and what this means is a happier, more productive team. Teams using Quip have 32% less email. Just a personal anecdote, this morning I came into Quip. I did not check my email, I checked Quip. I checked it for the update on this presentation with Kevin. I checked it for my task list of what I'm going to do this week. I checked it for various one-on-one tasks I had in my mind. And when I did check my email, just because I wanted to have an anecdote for this slide, I looked at what was in it. And the most relevant thing was a conversation I was having with a former professor about a week and a half ago. Otherwise, it was literally just calendar invites for events I'd already seen in my calendar. All right, so the good question is, which part of that is live apps? We saw a whole bunch of things going on. The answer is none of them. Live apps are unique tools you've never put in a document before. But it's around that same idea of richer and more powerful collaboration. For example, you can see here that there's this cool countdown going on, counting down the seconds until your launch. There's a Kanban board about your weekly sprint. There's a calendar here outlining the product launch plan. And there's a whole bunch more live apps. For example, Jira to track bugs in your external Jira tracker. There's a Salesforce record. There's a poll. And there's also, what I think is really cool, is everything along this sidebar here is bringing all these live apps into what your team actually needs to do. So the idea for a live app isn't that you make a document and you have one live app in it, then you make a new document and you have one live app in it, and you make a new document and you have one live app in it. So if you're doing that, it's basically the same as just switching between opening Excel, opening Jira, opening Salesforce. Instead, the idea is that you have all those, again, on the same page, in the same place, making each other all more powerful. So for your product launch plan, maybe you combine a calendar, a poll, a Kanban board, a Salesforce record, and Jira, rather than forcing people to switch between all these different things and keep all that context in their head at the same time. But if you have really good eyesight and a really good memory, you remember that this talk is about developing live apps, not looking at live apps. And if you look at this tiny text at the top, there's something really exciting, which is build your own live app. And that, I think, is what's one of the coolest things about this, which is that it isn't even about these 6 live apps that you're seeing here. And if this launch was just about saying, hey, you have a Quip document, guess what, you can put a poll in it, guess what, you can put a calendar in it, guess what, you can put a Kanban board in it, a lot of people would be really excited, but not nearly excited, I think, as You should be, because what's cool about the platform is you actually can build your own live app for your own product, for your own team, for your own custom solutions. So if you saw that document and you're like, hey, that's a cool one-on-one doc, but my one-on-one doc needs to look differently. It needs to have, this one feature that my team uses or this one product that my team uses. You can actually do that with the Quip platform. You start with our Getting Started guide on our new dev site, again, just launched this morning, where you can walk through an introduction about how to get started with the Live Apps API. You can go through some recipes for collaboration. One really neat thing about Live Apps is that we have all these recipes around bringing those collaborative features for Quip inside your own Live App. So you can say comment on any calendar event, or you can comment on a Kanban board, or when you edit that text in a Kanban board, it syncs like all other text in Quip across all your platforms, online and offline. Similarly, we have full API documentation explaining all these things, so it's easy to integrate into your own app. Once you've gone through it all, you're going to end up with this awesome sticky note, where you might say, hey, that's just a yellow rectangle with Quip text inside of it, but it's something that you can extend to do whatever your team needs it to do. And what that really means is building custom solutions inside of Quip, starting from that one app that you can get started literally probably half an hour tonight, into building something that supports your own workflow or your own product inside of Quip. An obvious question is we just walked through the whole platform, we walked through where you'd be after you went through that tutorial, but it's still not a custom solution inside of Quip, it's a sticky note inside of Quip. So to take a look at what it actually looks like to build a custom solution inside of Quip, I'm going to hand it off to Kevin, who will be doing the rest of the presentation, all about how he and his team at Lucidchart built their live app inside of Quip and what that looked like.
Awesome. Thank you. So, like you said, I'm Kevin. I am a software engineer for Lucidchart. I attended Brigham Young University, got my computer science degree there. I have since started working at Lucid. I've been here for about 1.5 years. I started as an intern, transitioned to part-time, and then now full-time. I have spent my time at Lucid working with these 3 technologies, Angular 2, TypeScript, and now, in the last couple of months, React, working with the Quip platform. So, if you haven't heard of us before, the company is called Lucid, and we have 2 products, Lucidchart and Lucidpress. Lucidchart is an online diagramming application. Lucidpress is an online layout and design application. To give you an idea of what Lucidchart is, I'm going to show a quick video. So something I hope you saw in that video is the similarity between our vision and Quip's vision. And this is one reason that it has been such a great opportunity for us to work with Quip on their live app platform. Quickly, a little bit more information about Lucidchart. We have 10 million plus users, 100 million plus documents created, 15 plus integrations. One of the things that we love doing is building these integrations to bring the power of Lucidchart to wherever our customers are working. And we believe that Quip is the greatest new platform on which our customers will be working. So who uses Lucidchart in a company? Really, it's everyone, and you can see the many different use cases here across IT and engineering, across HR, marketing, operations. We have many different use cases and can provide value to really anyone that is trying to communicate ideas, which is everyone. Now, I wanted to give you a quick demo of what Lucidchart is. I think for time's sake, I won't worry about it for now. And I think we'll move on. So again, here's some reasons that Lucidchart decided to integrate with Quip. For one, we were highly requested by Salesforce employees. Salesforce employees are already using Lucidchart in their sales processes to map out those processes, to map out customer flows, map out organizations, and they wanted to have a Lucidchart integration built into Quip. On top of that, we are very aware of Quip and the powerful platform that it provides to its users. And we have recognized that there is a lot of demand for Lucidchart in this kind of collaborative environment. We've already proven it out with products like Confluence in the Atlassian suite, and we believe that Quip is providing another wonderful environment for people to collaborate and be on the same page, and Quip and Lucidchart wants to add our powerful platform and build it into Quip. On top of that, we are aware of the powerful community within Salesforce, and one of our most powerful use cases for Lucidchart is within sales organizations. And this is one step that we are taking to build relationships and rapport within that Salesforce community. So, what did we build? Like Sophia said, I am one of the engineers on the team that built the integration for Quip. And at its core, it's very simple. On the left, you see there, if I can get there we go. On the left, you see a docs list. So Lucidchart documents have diagrams in them. And the powerful thing about our integration is that it allows you to take the power of Lucidchart and plug it into Quip. And so that's what happens after you see your docs list. You can then insert one of your diagrams into a Quip document. And like Sophia said, it then plugs in with the rest of your workflow and lives where all the work is happening. So what was our journey? This started about 2 months ago when we were contacted by Quip and asked to build this integration. We were very excited for the opportunity, and I was given the wonderful task of spearheading it, doing the research into the platform, and deciding what would be what the integration would look like. So I wanted to walk you a little bit through the journey that I have taken and that I hope many of you will take over the next coming months. The first step was going through the tutorials that Sophia was talking about. For me, I went through the Kanban one. Actually, there's a number of examples that they give, and I've gone through most of them and made sure that I can get them working. And so I got that working in my own environment, had it running from my local host. Actually, I want to take a quick shuffle. How many of you are engineers, developers, writing code every day? OK, good. I was expecting to be speaking to a technical audience, so I'm very glad. So I will be talking about the nitty-gritty details here of what the API actually looks like, what the calls are, how to set up your environment. So I was able to get this code working, the code that they provide in their GitHub repo, on my local host and get it running in my instance of Quip. The next step was to make sure that I could get Lucid authentication working. So one thing that makes Lucid's integration unique among the other ones that I was able to see in the GitHub repo is that we are actually plugging into an external platform and authenticating with them. And that is something that I was able to figure out. And it was challenging, and it had some things that I had to work through. But that was the next step. And one of the things to keep in mind, and I'll talk about this a little bit later on, but one of the things to remember about Quip is that all of the code is running in the browser in the front end in an iframe. With many other integrations, you have the opportunity to run code from the back end, and this allows for authentication requests to be more secure. That is not provided in the Quip API, and so, well, I will justify that and comment on that a little bit later. But for our solution, we had to do our authentication using the front end, and there were some security concerns with that, because as you know, the web is not exactly secure, and it's very hard to keep things secure when all of your network requests are coming from the browser. And so there were some struggles and some challenges that we had to face there, and I'll go into those a little bit more later, and the solution that Quip has actually provided to make this process easier. Unfortunately, Lucidchart's APIs were not built in a way that allowed us to take advantage of the tools that Quip provided to us. And as a result, we had to come up with our own way to kind of get around this. But I will be talking a little bit later about the way that Quip has provided us to do authentication in our live apps. So you'll notice this is suspiciously blank. So the very first version of our live app that we built a couple weeks ago was iframing in Lucidchart's document list. It was a simple solution. It's something that has been done before in our other applications, and so it was an easy first step for us to do. However, as we were talking with the Quip team, we decided that it would be a more powerful experience for the user if they were able to see their Quips in what we call a Quip native docs list. is the image that I showed before. And so you can see here that this is actually built in Quip using React components. It shows the docs list, it shows some templates, and it shows then a preview of the document before you actually insert it. And I actually wanted to go through and show you, oh, that's not it, what our live app looks like, what the final result was. Sorry, you may have noticed here at the beginning we were trying to get things set up on my Ubuntu machine. I don't know how many of you use Ubuntu, but my experience with Ubuntu is that it does not enjoy working with external displays. And as a result, we had to come up here on my coworker's laptop. Nice. So you can see here, as I think most of you are aware, this is a Quip document. And the experience that you get when you do @diagram, you'll notice mine says pre-prod. One of the process of developing this was creating multiple elements, one hitting our local host servers for our documents, one hitting our pre-prod environment, and one hitting production. So I'll be running this off of hitting our pre-prod environment. And so you'll see here, you can then get this experience. You clicked add a diagram. Once you come up, you'll see the templates. And right now, I'm actually not authenticated with Lucidchart. And so all you see is templates. You don't see any of my documents or folders because, like I said, I'm not actually authenticated with Lucid yet. But you can come in here and see the different templates, some of the different use cases that we provide. And you can see them. You can see previews of them. We do provide the search functionality, which is much more relevant once you have your own documents in here. And we provide a lot of different sortings, tile view versus the list view. And once you decide that you want one, this one looks good, you insert it and you get it here in your Quip document. And now it's living and breathing inside of your Quip document and alongside all of your other information, your other tasks, your calendars, everything else that you've attached. So some of the other cool functionality within Quip, like I said, this is a iframe. Our code is running in an iframe in the browser, and Quip's API is providing us these powerful tools and menus around the outside, and these are things that their API allows you to do. So some things that we have here, you can see the different menus for refreshing. So if you make a change and then you come here and refresh, and you'll see the diagram update. Like I mentioned, we're not actually linked to a Lucidchart account yet. We are working here just as an unauthenticated user. If you click Link Lucidchart account, you will then go through and be able to authenticate with Lucid and start using the documents and diagrams that you've created in your Lucidchart account. You have things like change diagrams. So if you want to come here and say, actually, I want to do the email automation one, now you can update and go in there. And then you can click Open in Lucidchart. This will open up your diagram in lucidchart.com in a separate tab and allow you to then edit and make changes and see those changes reflected then when you come back to your document and refresh it. So some of the other cool functionality that Quip provides. One is you'll notice these little handles over here. This is for resizing. So as soon as I start resizing, you'll notice the different columns. So Quip's allowed us to do a really nice column layout if you need to. And so you can resize your document and bring it in. I should use a mouse. Bring it in and make it smaller. You can bring it all the way to one side. And then if you want to, you can have some text over here to talk about the diagram and talk about it and make it work in. However, you'll notice the diagram starts to get kind of small, and maybe that works for the overall layout, but it makes it a little bit harder to read. So another nice thing that Quip provides is the ability to go into full screen mode, and it will pop the diagram out for you and allow you to see it in a much larger, take up much more space. We call this the projector view. I'm not sure what they call it at Quip. And now you are able to zoom in and see more of your diagram. let's see. I want to make sure I show you everything that I was hoping to. So one other interesting functionality that, if I were on my own machine, I'm going to make it happen anyway. So to get this to work, I actually need to authenticate with preprodchart.com. So like I said, this is our pre-prod version. But I need to be on the VPN, and that's not set up because we're not on my machine. So I wish I could show this to you. One of the really fun pieces of functionality that Quip has provided is the ability to do URL unfurling. So what this looks like is if I were to go into a Lucidchart document and I were to edit it, I would come up with some in the URL bar. I would have something like, if I were working in Lucidchart, my production account, it would be something like this, document / edit / some ID, right? And this is how we uniquely identify your document in Lucidchart. So then if you were to come in here and paste that, Quip provides us the ability to then capture that URL paste and unfurl it, which basically means they will do all the hard, heavy lifting in turning that into an instance of our element, and it will be as if I had come in here, done @diagram, and selected it myself. And that can all happen in one step just by pasting the link of the diagram. And that's one of the wonderful things that the Quip API allows you to do. And you're able to decide which URLs you want to capture and what to do with them. So that's a wonderful, wonderful thing about their platform. So one of the other things I wanted to show you is some of the platform basics. And Sophia touched on some of these briefly and talked about them. I want to show you them and show you a little bit of how I've used them and get you familiar with them. Did I get that URL right? There we go. So when you come here, these are all of my live apps. So these are ones that I've worked on. I've created them. Most of the code up there that's attached to those are not necessarily what I wrote. As you'll see, there's the Kanban example that I was able to get, the practice element, some remote files. These are some things that I was able to get the code from the GitHub repo that Quip provided. But you'll see the other ones that I have created, me and my team, which are the diagram pre-prod. And this is the one that I should have a diagram local up there. So I have one version of the element that I run, like I said, from my local host, and another one that runs from pre-prod. And so this is where you can come to see the apps that you have developed, that you have worked on. You can create a new one right here, create a live app. You can use, and the tutorial that Sophia showed will go through the documentation of how to actually create this and what it looks like. But basically, once you do create that, you will see you can then upload the code here and see, and then run it and enable it on your document. You can also, one of the really nice things is you are able to share it. So you come in here, you get a little bit more information. You have the unique ID, which is very important, very valuable, the name, the owner, that's me, the developers. So this is a wonderful thing about their platform as well, which is that you can then add the email addresses of other members of your team that are on your Quip instance, and they will then be able to use it as well. And that is wonderful for not only development, so me and the other engineers were able to work collaboratively on this, and we were all able to see it, but also our PM and our QA members on our team, they were able to see it and use it and test it. And the way that this works is with this ELE. So one of the commands that they give you to run will package up your code and put it and put it into this ELE, which is basically a zip file, which you then upload. And it's important to recognize that this ELE that you upload has two pieces to it. There's the code itself, which is a condensed JavaScript file, and then the CSS file. And this is packaged up using Webpack. But the other important part is the manifest file, which I think I can show here. So you have your code, and then you have your manifest. And your manifest is what tells the Quip system details about the live app that you've created. So we can see things in here like the ID, the manifest number. You can do things like version it. There's different options around sizing, initial height, initial width. So these are the configurations for your app. But then on top of that, like I said, you have the code. And when you run, I think I can show. So there's this option down here. You see these developer options. These are here because this is, like I said, this is one of my own elements. And there's this option to use local resources. It's not currently checked because for our pre-prod one, we actually decide not to have it run from localhost because we want it to be as close of an experience as possible to the production environment. But you can use local resources, and when you set this up, you then use commands that Quip provides to run your code from a Webpack server. And then it will pull the code from your system and run it in your browser whenever in the iframe for your element. Now, one of the interesting gotchas is that so remember, there's the manifest, and then there's the code. And when you run local resources, you are pulling the code from your system, from your Webpack server. However, the manifest continues to be the one that you uploaded. And this has a couple different implications. The first is that if you want to actually change your manifest, you can't just change it locally and then have the server reserve it to the browser. You actually need to then repackage it and upload it to your system. The other gotcha for this is that this actually means that if you and another engineer or multiple engineers are working on this live app and you want to test or make a change that requires a modification to your manifest file, since you need to re-upload it, this also means that you're actually uploading a new one for the other engineers as well. And that means that you can kind of clobber each other and clobber your changes, and so you need to keep in mind and stay synced so that you don't have to worry about that. One way around this that you could do is to have multiple elements so that you use one and they use another. The biggest challenge to this is then you're not actually working off of you don't actually have a single element. You'd have multiple ones, and then it'd be a little bit more challenging to keep them straight and to test them. So I should show you from here, you can go to the Live Apps API. Now, this is a super helpful document. I've been living and breathing this document for the last couple of months. And it is very helpful for helping you get started. It has the examples, it has the recipes, it has the link to the GitHub repo. The reference docs are very useful, and this is what I used. They're very accurate, very detailed in helping you know how to set up your application and then use the different features of the API. Now, so one of the other interesting things about developing for the Quip API is that you use React to do it. You don't have to use React, and they give examples of how to do it without React. But to really take advantage of the full functionality, it uses React. And this allows you to get the rich text boxes that Sophia was showing in the sticky notes example. It also allows you to do commenting within the actual element that you're creating, which I think is a wonderfully powerful feature. So as you get started with your live apps, you'll need to get familiar with React and understand that paradigm a little bit. I was able to do some tutorials and get some help. Also, it's wonderful that they provide us with these examples and the ones on GitHub because you can use them as references for understanding how they tackle certain problems with React. So another interesting thing, this is something unique to Lucid. So at Lucid, we use TypeScript. We've used JavaScript traditionally the last many years, but this year we decided to make the switch over to TypeScript. When I started with Quip, I wanted to make that change as well and use TypeScript in our system. All of the examples that I was able to see from Quip use JavaScript, and so I had to deal with a couple of challenges myself to use TypeScript. as you may know, TypeScript is basically JavaScript, but with types. And they define these types with definition files. And these are definition files that say, for this function call, it's going to return this type, and it takes these parameters. And so we actually have taken the documentation provided by Quip. Here, you'll notice they have, let me show an example. They use syntax here to tell you the types of their function calls. And that's wonderful. And so what we have done is taken those types and turned them into a definition file, a declaration file for TypeScript. And so now when we're working in our live app, we have type safety to help us make sure that we're doing everything as we should. And so we are currently creating that, and we're building it out and keeping it in sync with the documentation that they have. If that's something you're interested, come up and talk to me. We haven't done it yet, but we're hoping to submit it to the GitHub repo definitely typed so that it is then available for everyone to use, and it can then be collaborative in terms of updating it and keeping it up to date with the documentation that Quip has provided. So let's see. One of the other things I wanted to talk to you about was the data storage paradigm. And so Quip's system is unique because it provides this iframe on the page, but this iframe is going to be viewed in many different contexts by many different people using that page. This is the collaborative nature of Quip. And so there's some things to keep in mind when you're thinking about data storage and how you're going to persist this data and make it unique and customizable for each person that's using it. So the first is user preferences. User preferences are a data storage system that Quip allows you to use that is basically string-to-string mapping, a very simple object, but it allows you to save data for a specific user. We have used this for authentication. So when we go through the authentication flow and link up a Quip user with a Lucidchart user, we save a unique token, their OAuth token, for that user in user preferences. And then doing this gives us the ability to then show the unique docs list for each user when they use the Lucidchart live app. The other data storage mechanism they give us is site preferences. So these are synced across everyone on the domain. And so you're able to save these. If there's any site preferences that you want to be set, you can save these across all the users on that domain. And then the other one is records. Now records are independent of a user, independent of the site. They are attached to the specific instance of your live app. So as I've been trying to talk to people about this at Lucid to get them up to speed, I think of the live app itself as kind of a class, and then you can think of, just like you can create objects which are instances of classes, you can create instances of your live app. And each instance of your live app will have a separate record system that will allow you to make sure that that instance stays unique. And that's what we use that data storage for the actual ID of the document that the user has inserted. And so this allows us to have multiple records that all show different documents. And it is also great because, like I said, it is independent of users. It is independent of the site. So that's something wonderful, powerful system for storing data. But there's a couple different things to keep in mind there as you're doing it. So some other things I wanted to just give you kind of a heads up on. Like we said, the live apps are built into a iframe. And so, like with any iframe, there's sandbox restrictions. And so just keep in mind that there are certain things that you will or will not be able to do within your live app based on those restrictions. So we had to work around some things with forms. But they do allow most things, and most things you're OK with. But just keep in mind that you might get some warnings about, like, hey, the sandbox restrictions in this iframe, and you'll have to work around those. I already mentioned that the manifest.json is never actually pulling from your local server. And the last thing I wanted to mention, as a little gotcha, is external resources. This is something that the documentation goes over that you just need to keep in mind. It's part of the manifest. So if I come in here and look at the manifest, you'll notice the CSP sources. So this is, again, just another thing that's saying that when you are having to do with the iframe, when you want to make external requests, either network requests, if you want to load different JavaScript resources, if you want to iframe different things, if you want to pull images, you just need to keep in mind that you need to put those domains that you want to use inside of your manifest.json. You can also see here, while I'm there, you can see the intercept URL patterns. This is the other thing that, like I was mentioning before, to do the URL unfurling. That's one of the things that's stored in the manifest file. So, should wrap up here. So these are just, again, some of the things that I showed in my demo, showing you about our live apps and things that you're able to do that come basically for free with Quip's platform. One is resizing, that allows you that once you have inserted a live app, you can then handle the different resizing of it with the API calls that Quip provides. And so you're able to listen for changes to the size and act appropriately. For us, that means changing the width of the image so that we can make it look nice. You can do context menus. So this is another thing that Quip just gives to you basically for free, is if you want to show a little context menu. For us, that's in the sorting. If you want to sort by name or last modified, you can do a context menu, and they give you that for free. The other is the link unfurling. Like I said, very simple. And then the projector view that allows it to come up full screen. Wonderful features that I think provide amazing functionality and increase the user experience that we as developers basically get right out the gate and are very easy to do. And so I encourage you to definitely look into those and take advantage of them. They are things that we've taken advantage of, and there's many other things, but these in particular were ones that I wanted to point out to you. So here's just a couple of things that I am looking forward to going forward. So in the immediate future is OAuth 2.0. Like I mentioned at the very beginning, we've had some struggle. One of the challenges that we had to face at Lucidchart was authentication, because our API system still uses OAuth 1.0. However, or because of that, we had to kind of do some funny workarounds to get that to work on our system, to get the Quip system to work with our Lucidchart servers. However, Quip has provided a wonderful API around OAuth 2.0. So if your servers that you're trying to authenticate with use OAuth 2.0, you're able to get a wonderful authentication experience built into the platform. The other wonderful thing is mobile. This is something that we're going to be working on. The Quip API allows you a very simple call to know if you're loading up the element in a mobile device. And part of the vision of Quip is that it is used seamlessly across all your devices. And this is one tool that we're going to be taking advantage of soon to make sure that our live app is very usable and a great experience on mobile. Long-term goals that we have that I'm very excited to work with Quip on, one is team authentication. So currently the way that Lucidchart authentication works is a single Quip user authenticates and links up with a single Lucidchart account. However, for Lucidchart, we have team accounts, just in the same way that Quip has team accounts. And one of the things that we're looking forward to in the future is being able to allow a team to authenticate with Lucidchart, which means that when another user comes on and tries to use Lucidchart, they're already authenticated and don't need to go through that process. The other thing is comment syncing. So this is one thing that, again, I can't talk about enough about some of the amazing features that the Quip API provides. The fact that you can put comments, Quip comments, built into your element, into your iframe, I think is fantastic. And they do that with just a React element and their record system. This is something that we have not yet taken advantage of, but we will be doing it soon, and I think that it's a wonderful thing that you should keep in mind. You can make your live apps even more powerful and even more collaborative by allowing Quip native comments within it. So I think I have covered most of the things that I wanted to. We have a couple more minutes here. Maybe time for one or two questions. If you have a question, you're welcome to come up here. If not, I will be sticking around and be very happy to talk to you after the session. So does anybody have any questions for me? I know I've gone over a lot of material. OK. Awesome. So like I said, I will be here afterward if you have more questions about what we did. I'm sorry I wasn't able to show as much code as I was hoping to because of the little snafu with my external displays on my device. I wasn't able to show you the code that we've been working with. But again, my name is Kevin Reese, and these are Quip Live Apps. Thank you.